Now, the other thing, before we get to the ad-libs, I just wanted to show you is these delay throws here. As you'll see, I've got a channel here, which is not within any of the actual buses for any of the vocals. It kind of sits on its own, but it does still output to my kind of vocal, my overall all vocal bus. And I've just kind of chopped things out of the vocals, the main vocals on throughout these 3 verses, and just pasted them up to this channel here. So let me play some of these in solo and then in the context of the song, and then we'll have a look at how I created this delay sound.
Luca Brasi, raise a voice. But yo, Coke War.
But yo, we was always in a Coke war. Semi-truck, semi-loaded, set me up.
Yeah, so it's just kind of lines that stand out and you want to highlight, or there's little gaps or little breaks in the verse where I think these can really add a nice touch. So let me play them now in the context of the song as well, maybe some from this verse before we take a look at how I created this channel here.
Sequel. We never let the beef stew. I got shot in my head and my neck. Then Millie rock to the ops with the scat. Ass in the atmosphere, then I'm satisfied. My bitch wears spikes, she don't do the whole man. 223s out the G. My flip prostitute, young Luca Brasi. In between good and evil, harder than the youngins, they barely raise a voice. Son, I got the lady, man, I make.
So I went with a kind of distorted, saturated sound on this just to kind of keep it in with the vibe of the song, which is gritty and lo-fi. First of all, as you'll see here, down to here, it's literally the same settings as I showed you on the main vocals. So we're just doing basic EQ, basic compression and de-essing with these plugins here. So nothing really to show you there, but how I actually created the delay. Obviously, again, we're using H-Delay, one of my favorite delay plugins. And these are the settings that I've used. So it's on quarter note. Again, we're filtering out the low end and the high end. Analog all the way down. Wet has to be all the way up. That's really important. You don't want to be getting any of the dry signal coming through on this channel. So the wet dial should be all the way to the right. We've got the lo-fi setting on here. And that's about it. So that was the thing that actually created the echo. Then we're running it into chroma tape here. And with this, you can really add some crunch and some distortion and some grit. So we're driving it quite hard here with the record level. We've got the speed down at 7.5, which is the more kind of lo-fi, less high fidelity sound that this plugin can give you. And then we've got the flux up here. So let me show you what this does when I turn this up and down, because this is really creating the kind of grit and the distortion.
Luca Brasi, Luca Brasi, Luca Brasi, Luca Brasi.
So as you heard, when I turn that up and down, it really changes the kind of level of the distortion that the plugins add in, and I kind of kept it in the middle somewhere there.
But yo, Coke War, Coke War, Coke War.
Yeah, so you see how that's just really adding the distortion and the saturation to the delay there. After that, we ran it into H reverb, quite low down here, just at 14%, and this is just adding a little bit of smoothness and reverb to the end of these delays. Let's go for this one down here.
1,000 plates. 1,000 plates. 1,000 plates. We'll let the beef stew. We'll let the beef stew.
So again, just really adds to the sound. I think without any of those things, it's just not as nice. If I take off the distortion and the reverb here and play you these.
Kill the Irish prostitute, young Luca Brasi. In between good and evil.
And then add them back in.
Young Luca Brasi. In between good and evil, hard to make a choice.
Subtle, but it just adds to the feel and the vibe of the song, I think, to have just these extra little parts on the end of your delays can really help to bring some vibe to the song. So once I was satisfied with all the vocals on the track, I moved on to the ad-libs, and you'll see here there's ad-libs going through all 3 verses. There's only 2 channels here because one's panned left and one's panned right slightly. I've used the same 2 channels for all 3 verses. There was really no reason to create multiple channels and tracks for all 3 of the verses. They're very similar, and because of the effect that we've added onto it, it's not essential to kind of tailor the sound of each person's voice to these ad-libs. Hopefully you'll understand what I mean in a sec. I have used some automation here just to turn down the ad-libs in the second verse here in Ace on Eastwood's verse. So what did we do with them? So the first thing is both of these, are going out to this ad-lib bus here. They're kind of contained within this. So I've got processing on the channels here, and I've got processing over here, again, on the actual bus or the track stack setting there. So the first thing is I've used this kind of EQ curve here. Let me take everything off. Just show you this. So yeah, we've got this EQ curve, which is obviously like a sort of what they call a phone effect, but it's basically a high pass and a low pass with a boost here in the mid-range.
Feel the pressure. Feel the pressure. Dios mío. Dios mío.
So straight away, that's adding the kind of lo-fi vibe to these ad-libs and creating a different sound to really differentiate them from the main vocal. After that, we're going into the magma channel, and I've added a lot more drive to this than I did on the main vocals to create some more distortion. Again, just adding to that kind of crunchy lo-fi vibe that we're going for. Reduce some high end, boosted some mids, reduce some bass as well, and then we're doing a little bit of compression with this.
We winning. We winning. We winning.
So you see how that drive is just really adding some crunch to these. Let's try a different one. And we have got a de-esser here as well. It's probably not doing too much because we filtered out a lot of the high end, but that's left on there really just as a, you know, just to catch any S's that are going over.
What's that? What's that? What's that?
Really basic. Then we've got basic compression as well on the end of this.
What's that? 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 What's that?
Just helping to push it up, you know, bring it further forward and, you know, contain the dynamics a little bit. Then we're running into what we did over here on the actual bus. So that's all the stuff we did on the channel there, but we're running into now the actual bus settings. And as you'll see, I've added a lot more saturation on these than I did with the main vocals.
They pull you down. They pull you down. They pull you down. They pull you down.
So what this is doing, even though we reduced a lot of the high end, the crunch that we've added in with the tube saturation of the magma channel, this is kind of bringing out the high end distortion that's added in with that. It's kind of pushing that forward, if you follow me. So the little bit more, it's just adding a little bit more crunch in the high end off the back of what we've done over here.
Dios mío. Dios mío. Dios mío.
Yeah, so I liked what that was doing. Again, we've got a de-esser on here. Probably not too needed, but it's just helping in case anything needs taming here.
The white girl. White girl. Dios mío. Carmine.
Then we're running into this tape emulation again, and this is the same settings that I used on the main vocal. It's not doing a whole lot. Such a little bit of saturation.
Feel the pressure. Feel the pressure.
Really probably not necessary with all the other stuff that I've done, but I just left it on there really from how it was on the main vocal. Then I've put this reverb on the end of these, so there's no delay on these. Usually I would add a little bit of delay to my ad-libs, but for this I didn't. But I've used some reverb instead to kind of add a tail to these.
Okay. Okay. Clean. Clean.
And that's really it. I'll play these now with the whole song in the context so you can get a feel for them. That's really all I did with them. I think I like the way they sounded like that. Obviously, we've panned some left and some right to kind of move them outside of the center. A little bit of kind of something to catch your ear that's outside of the main vocal.
They barely raise a voice. Son, I got the lady, man, I make her moist. Got jumped by 2 buckets like I was Jacob. I'd rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. Was 16, mastering a class in the kitchen. Was sick. You better pray to Christ we don't see you. Play once, there won't be a sequel. Why's that? We never let the beef stew. I got shot in my head and my neck. That Millie rock to the ops with the scat clouds on